By 2050, 2/3 of the world.
So,
if you live on the countryside, the person left and right of you will then live in a city. And another problem that we are facing is the climate change. Due to the climate change, the temperature is rising, and we see that. Just wait. Okay, thank you. So the temperature is rising, and the atmosphere can hold more water. It means in the summer we have these long dry periods, and when it starts to rain, it will rain heavily. And in these dry periods, we have a depletion of the groundwater, and also during the storms, the rainwater system are not calculated to capture this. My name is Vandecauter. I'm working for the business unit Urban Climate Resilient, the global business unit. Oops. Okay, what's this? So more urbanization means we have more paved surfaces in the city. And if you look at the runoff, this was a topic that already was discussed by some of the previous speakers. The runoff in cities is much higher than the one on the countryside. Actually, the amount of water that is infiltrating on the countryside is more or less the same as the water that runoffs in a city. And if you then think about this climate change and these heavy rainfalls in the summer, it will increase the flood risk. And this heavy flood risk is more and more showed in the last summer, the last 5 to 6 years. But also the groundwater depletion is a problem, especially when you think that in 2050, 2/3 of the world population will live in cities. We see that there where the water is needed, there is no possibility for the rainwater to infiltrate into the soil. So what are the current solutions? Most of the solution is based on a safety. So we try to install bigger pipes with the current knowledge that we have, and also make open channels and open ponds. Yeah, open channels, you cannot build anything anymore on these places. Also, the safety level is very low if you have children play in the surroundings of these open channels and open ponds. And the bigger pipe diameters cost a lot of money. And they are calculated on the knowledge that we have today. But we don't know how in the future, 50, 60 years, what type of storms that we have to deal with in these cities. These large paved surfaces, together with the heat waves that we last month have a lot in Europe, creates a heat island effect in the cities. So what is the heat island? Cities are made of different materials, but they have one thing in common: they absorb the heat during the day via the heat radiation, and during the night they slowly give back the heat to the atmosphere, and that creates a temperature difference from sometimes 8 to 10 degrees if you compare it with the countryside. And because of this higher temperature in the city, the air conditioners needs to work harder. So there is a higher energy loss in the cities. And if you look in this period, during the heat waves in the heat island zones in the city, the mortality numbers are much higher than on the countryside. So we have to find a solution for these topics: the heat island, the flooding, the drought, and the change, the run to the city. And in a lot of solutions that are provided to municipalities, in the portfolio of solution, trees are often showed as the best solution, of one of the best solutions to think about. But why? Why can trees solve this problem? If you look at trees in cities, they create a livable and lovable space, and who doesn't want to live nearby a tree in a city? And research shows that the property value in a city nearby a tree is 5 to 10% higher. It's also a nice habitat for bees, birds, insects. It creates a small nature in the city center. Actually, we at Wavin have a colleague who is beekeeper in Brussels. So actually, it works to have these green solutions. Of course, it cleans the air, so it takes the carbon dioxide out of the air and replaces it by oxygen. And the most effect that we achieve from these trees is the cooling effect. We can create natural air conditioners by using the evaporation and the shadow of the trees. Via the evaporation, we already win 2 to 5 degrees. And on surplus with the shadow, we can go up to 10 degrees and more. But if you look at a tree as a solution, we should look at a sustainable tree. So we distinguish 2 types of trees. First, the non-sustainable. These are these small ornamental trees that are only planted in a hole of about 1 or 2 cubic meters. Put some substrate in it, and there is no aftercare. The very small crown doesn't have any effect on the environment. And after 10 to 15 years, we need to replace it. On the other hand, the sustainable tree is already taken into account during the planning phase of the project. We have to calculate with a supportive structure underneath the tree to let the tree grow from a sapling tree to a more mature tree. These trees need about 50 cubic meter support under the pavement. Also, the crown width, when it's become a mature tree after 6 to 10 years, is 60 square meters. And these trees last for a long time, for maybe 50 years or maybe longer. But in cities, creating this type of trees is challenging. And how can we create such a mature tree in a city? It's rather simple. Just imitate forest. If you look at the forest, the trees grow very high, very fast, and there is enough cooling effect in this forest. And if we foresee enough space to grow for such a tree, it will become a mature tree. And of course, we also need to foresee nutrients, food for the tree to grow. And together with the water and the air, we can come to a mature tree if the soil that is next to the tree is not compacted. Because compactation of the soil is very bad for the tree because there is no space for the water to go to the roots. And there is no place for the air to also to come to this root system. We at Wavin have developed a system that simulates more or less the forest environment. First of all, we work with the carrying structure that carries the load that's coming from the pavement above the tree and brings it to the bottom of the structure. Together with the irrigation pipes, we ventilate the structure. And in this structure, we put substrate or tree ground, so that the tree have enough food to grow for 50 years or longer. Of course, we wrap the whole structure with the geotextile to prevent that the roots are fighting with the structure that is next to the tree. And of course, for the first 5 years, we need to anchor the tree so it will not fall down during these heavy storms. And here you see an example from Belgium and Hasselt, where we already installed a few of these solutions, but also in Poland we already offered these solutions to some of the municipalities. These structures are made out of our units made of plastic. And I can already hear some people thinking, why do we need to use plastic for these trees? It's a lightweight unit, so it will not take much energy to bring this unit on site. Also, the installation doesn't ask that much energy, And of course, after 50 years and 60 years, you can recycle all that material. So it will not end up in the sea. And here is the example of Hasselt, and witness yourself. In 2019, we installed the tree, and already in 2021, the tree already provides some shadow, also clean the air, and make use of the evaporation to cool this environment. If we look at the different elements that the tree need to grow, to become a full-grown tree, like the forest environment, we create a space for the tree to grow. We did it with the units. We put substrate in the units so we can create this uncompacted soil with enough nutrient for the tree. There is oxygen because we foresee some ventilation pipes, so the oxygen can go through the units. But there's one element missing, the topic of today, stormwater. There is water missing for the tree to grow. And why is water so important? If we look at water in a tree, it's like the highway from the tree. It brings the elements that are produced by the roots, minerals, bring it to the leaves, so that part of the water can evaporate and bring down the sugars to the roots, so that the roots have enough food to further grow and help to mature the tree. Know that the tree drinks about 300 up to 500 liters a day when it's full grown. And in this process, to bring the water to a height of 10 meters or more, you need this evaporation. And the evaporation of the water cool down the atmosphere of the air that is around the tree. So we want, if we can make use of that water in a tree during a dry period, we can actually create a natural air conditioner in our cities. And already have a solution for the heat waves that will appear in 10, 20 years for the city. So how our solution look like? Here you see a drawing, a small sketch about how a project in the future could look like. We have this carrying structure called TreeTank with the tree in it, also irrigation pipe, it could be drip irrigation, some houses, paved surface, and of course some gullies. And with this solution, what we try to do is catch the water when it is available and use it when we need it. So when it starts to rain, we catch the water from the roofs, from the paved surfaces, and bring it to a storage tank. There we keep the water to the dry period that will appear some later in the summer. And we put some sensors in the substrate next to the tree that measure the moisture in that tree. And once the tree is thirsty, we take the water out of the tank, filter it, and pump it slowly to the tree. Because if we give tree to a water maybe every week with a lot of cubic meters, we will drown the tree. So too much water is maybe one of the main problems with the trees in cities, or too less water, of course. So in this structure, we will catch the water, store it, clean it, and then give it slowly to the tree when it's needed. And because we give this water to the tree in a dry period, when the heat waves strike, we cool down the environment. And via this system, we can actually switch on and off the natural air conditioner that a tree tank could be. And of course, if you make your city models, you know that trees only take out water of the tank during the summer period. We will also connect the tank with a weather forecast-based solution that if the tank is completely full and a heavy storm is coming, we can drain down the tank to a certain level so that there will be no overflow to the collective rainwater system. So we make a complete smart system. And this is actually also an answer to the previous sessions where they asked, can you connect the roof from the airport to the greenification? Not only on street level we are looking for solutions, but here in a couple of months we also can offer this smart type with uses of water on roof level. We also will create some blue-green roof level solution. So if we look at the system, the atmosphere will change. So the atmosphere can hold more water and we will have some more heavy rainfalls in long drawn periods. We have to deal with these heat islands effect in the city, and for that we can use mature trees. And if we want to make use for this natural air conditioner for the maximum during the dry period, we need to give them water. And how we will do this? We will catch the water, keep it in a tank, and give it through the trees when it's needed in a heat island effect region, so that we can cool down this region up to 10 degrees. And I want to end with a Chinese proverb that is the best time to plant maybe a mature tree was 20 years ago, and the second best time is now. Thank you.